and welcome to Witness, bringing you people's stories from all over the globe. I'm Rida Fakhri. In 2006, Witness traveled to the U.S. state of North Dakota to capture the phenomenon of this large rural state struggling with an outgoing tide of humanity. With economic opportunities luring the next generation to distant cities, the future of much of the state looked grim. But 2 years later, an oil boom transformed the landscape of northwest North Dakota. We returned to see this change through the eyes of Janae Hagen, a 2006 high school graduate from the town of Crosby. She wanted to see for herself the impact of these changes on what remains an isolated corner of the country, and how her slice of the state has gone from ghost town to boom town.
This is my hometown in North Dakota 4 years ago, and the future looked pretty bleak back then.
Small town North Dakota. Hard to attract people that want to come here and live here.
It'd be nice to get some families in here and have some kids and get the school population back up.
The risk is that the area will die.
Today, a new oil boom is transforming the countryside beyond my wildest imagination. But as I head home to see what impact this is having, it's clear that the oil riches are a mixed blessing.
It's going to make a lot of people millionaires.
There's more people around, a lot of unfamiliar faces.
We have a lot of money in the banks around here, and not just my bank, but every bank.
That's me, 4 years ago, graduating with 26 other classmates from Divide County High School in northwest North Dakota.
As hard as it is to leave all of this behind, I can't help but anticipate what the years ahead might bring.
When I left home for college back then, there were news reports around the country describing North Dakota as a place filled with ghost towns. They said that we couldn't even give land away. We had to lure people to North Dakota with offers of free homes, and even then, very few actually moved there.
All these little railroad towns like Ambrose, there's like 20, 30 people, if that live in these towns. And those towns, you hate to see them die, but it's probably going to happen.
Now, things are changing. The confluence of advanced technology and new drilling techniques is making this, the largest oil field in the continental United States, finally profitable to exploit.
Well, I'm just going to go out and bale some hay.
This is bringing changes that none of us could foresee. My own farming family has benefited from the oil boom.
Farm legacy, passing on to the kids, it's like, it's not just the surface that we own anymore, the land. It's our mineral acres are worth a little bit of money now too.
So how does that work? I mean, Jesse and Josh and I mean, we're not knocking down the barn door to come back and start farming.
Rent the surface out and hang on to the minerals and pass the minerals on down.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm sure that's what most retired farmers are doing.
No, we're not overnight millionaires like many Montreal County families are, but because we still hold the mineral rights beneath our land, oil speculation helped make my senior year at college a little easier to budget. North Dakota is one of the only states in the Union with a huge budget surplus, thanks to oil. Seeing all of the changes that are happening to my hometown, I want to find out what these oil riches are really doing to my community. 4 years ago, local economic leaders worried how to bring business and opportunity to the state.
The purpose is to revitalize and to a large degree repopulate northwest North Dakota.
Today, Williston Bank Marketing Director Steve Slocum worries instead about the price being paid for their success.
I think what blows me away more than anything is the fact that every 2 square miles there could be one of those wells like that. And that will alter this landscape that I came to live and love in forever.
North Dakota has been through this resource romance before, In the 1980s, oil was discovered, and with it came a modern-day land rush that brought instant wealth to this same corner of the state. But it all went bust when the high cost of drilling exceeded the value of the oil that was being found.
You were around in the 80s when the oil went bust. I mean, what has it been like for Williston to recover from that?
Well, that's why we're looking for state money to help with any new infrastructure now, is because people have a short memory of what happened in the 80s. When that bust went down, Williston had just invested $25 million or so into subdivision, infrastructure, and expansion for the city. Went flat, everybody left, the city got stuck with the bill.
The 80s bust cost us dearly, but I wonder, what price are we paying for today's oil boom? In the past 4 years, county courthouses like this one in Stanley have been besieged by leasing agents set on securing as many available mineral leases as possible.
When an oil company first wants to move in an area, one of the first things they do is send us to the courthouse to search the land records to find out who owns the mineral rights. The ones you feel bad for are the ones who own the surface, but none of the minerals, because they don't get a royalty check.
With an influx of thousands of oil field workers, the housing situation here has become so tight that some seek shelter in their cars.
Man camps, that doesn't really say a family atmosphere. Are there families moving into Williston? Do you see a lot of the oil workers ready to, start a family here and stay for the long term?
Man camps are an important component at this part of the game, because there are so many of those temporal workers that are in and out and have no intention of settling here. Now, a lot of them, when they see a few sunsets and they visit with some people and get out and see what kind of fishing and hunting we got, probably gonna stay.
Many of these men are drawn here from all over the country for the jobs and prospect of a steady paycheck.
I've always been a family guy, I'd get up, go to work early in the morning, get home, that evening and spend the rest of the evening with the kids. And now, it's 2 weeks and it's like, wow.
Jason Hall came here from Missouri, leaving behind his wife and 6 children after being laid off from Walmart. Like most of the men here, he works for 2 weeks straight, 12 hours a day. Then Jason drives 21 hours to Missouri to be with his family for 2 weeks.
The money up here is worth it?
Yeah, it's a lot better than trying to live from paycheck to paycheck. Right now it means a future, because before, we're struggling, scraping to get by and stuff. And now with this job, my wife don't have to work. She can spend 24 hours a day with the kids, which, we feel is better for the kids. Just the money is, it's just too good.
He's not alone in being willing to sacrifice the present in order to gain a better future for his family.
It's a beautiful country up here. I like it up here, but it's not a place that I can move my family, besides moving away from the rest of my family, but it's just, I don't know, it'd be too much of a change for them all, I think.
This is your home, huh, Todd?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Most of the oil workers I meet have every intention of staying only as long as the oil boom lasts. They know it's not going to last forever. Some of those living in rented rooms or in one of the scarce apartments are now paying rents comparable to New York or Washington, D.C. But a majority of the oil field workers live in camps like these.
Well, this is our man camp, if you want to call it that.
Some companies, like Doug Jelly's oil field support business, provide free trailers for their workers. Doug's company can hardly keep up with the demand for their services.
I don't see it slowing down. I see it picking up. We're picking up right now. The oil companies are, we're told that there's 150 rigs out here. There'll be 200 by next year. And it's supposed to go for, the next, I'm told 5 years. So we've committed to that. We've had to limit the amount of hours the guys can work because it's just we could work them 24 hours a day.
But nothing about today's oil boom in North Dakota speaks to sustainability. The land, water, and communities are being stretched beyond their capacity to try and accommodate the booming businesses. The town of Ray is working as fast as it can to build more houses for oil workers. Ironically, the town's only lumberyard closed its doors in 2006 when no one stepped in to buy the thriving and profitable company before the owner, Don Sir, retired.
There you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, A big man camp is being built on the edge of town, which will likely double the size of the community. And in the middle of a big construction boom, Don's old lumber yard is greatly missed.
Hey, Don.
How are you this morning?
Great, thanks, great.
Today, it's a bar.
We changed it a lot, didn't we?
Yes, this is really a big change. Saving some of the old and putting some new with it. And
How has the atmosphere here in Ray changed?
you see the activity, the trucks and stuff all around you, and I mean, they're here just like we came for one reason, make a living. That's what it all boils down to.
Join me again after the break here on Witness. Welcome back to Witness. I'm Rida Fakhri. In 2006, Janae Hagen graduated from high school in Crosby, northwest North Dakota, at a time when people were leaving the state in droves to seek a better economic future. She returns in 2010 to find that her home state is facing a new and very different reality after an oil boom.
North Dakota, long the national example of desolation and the embodiment of the wide-open prairie, presents a changing landscape today. I'm returning to this region to take a closer look at the state of the state.
It's one of the good things in life here.
Joe and Karen Huber moved back to North Dakota after many years of working around the country in various jobs. They returned not for the oil, but to build their dream home. They pooled their life savings and sunk it all into a 160-acre homestead near Stanley.
I never in my wildest imagination ever dreamed that I would have something like this one day. And I couldn't have been more thankful and more content.
Life was sweet for a few years. They loved everything their land brought them. Wide open spaces, the wildlife, peace and quiet, until the boom struck and changed everything around them.
All these wells you'll see, you'll be shocked at the flares.
Oil trucks now rumble down their country road all day and night, spitting up gravel all around and tearing up the roadbed. Large natural gas flares light up the night sky and spew particles into the air. Generators from nearby pumping stations run 24/7, puncturing the peace and quiet.
Our house felt like it was going to buzz right off the foundation when they fracked the well a mile to the north. This one's about, I think we checked 330 yards, I believe. It was the most ungodly, annoying thing. The house was humming.
The Hubers own their property, but just the surface of it. When they purchased their land, they tried to buy the mineral rights to what lies below it too, but those had already been sold. Joe and Karen are only eligible to receive a one-time access fee of around $7,000 if oil companies need to use their property to drill.
As long as you're going to occupy a surface owner's land, there needs to be a residual check to that surface owner. Nobody pays when we get our windshields busted, our vehicles tore up because the roads tore up. We don't get a nickel for that. This has done nothing but cost surface owners a lot of money.
What are some of the things that you would change, or the things that you don't like about what the oil companies are doing?
Well, the way it is right now, I've managed to keep the oil companies off of our 160 acres here. The only way I'm going to know if my well is contaminated or has been depleted in any way is if, we write the check out and we do our own water sample. Okay, I don't believe that's right.
Joe is not just concerned about his own land. He is also worried about the oil boom's legacy and the impact on the environment.
I wouldn't consider myself a tree hugger type, but I am a conservationist and I am a steward of the land. And I believe that we need to take care of our land. And these people won't.
He says he lost what he once had, and there's no way to get back the tranquility and privacy or reverse the oil company's encroachment on his land and nearby prairie. He is now hoping to just preserve what is left of his dream.
I don't want their money. I just want them to stay off our property. Don't wreck my home. This is our home. This is all we got. I won't fight them in court, but I'll fight to the death right here. And I'm not crazy. I don't have a death wish, but I'm an American. This is my home. This is what Karen and I have worked our entire lives for, and we're not going to give it up.
If you go up against a multi-billion-dollar industry, you better be prepared to fight, and I am.
Candy Mossett is an American Indian environmentalist who grew up on a reservation beside Lake Sakakawea. Since the oil boom began, she's seen dangerous developments on tribal lands. She feels that the water from the underground reservoir isn't just being polluted, it's disappearing altogether.
Every time that they use this water, they have to put chemicals in it to be able to do the whole process. So up to 2,500 chemicals are used.
The horizontal oil extraction process, known as fracking, uses an enormous amount of water. Much of the oil technology in North Dakota is so new that there is little understanding of the long-term consequences of drilling.
And there's no scientific studies that I know of yet that talk about what's happening when that groundwater moves and gets into our drinking water.
While some, such as Candy, fear that toxic hazards will linger into the future, those that are using the water claim that they are acting responsibly. Natural resources are one of our state's most precious commodities. As incoming industries associated with the oil boom consume them, I wonder, how long will we be able to depend on our water?
They're already noticing water pressure levels dropping and depleting, so according to our state hydrologist, we shouldn't be using certain aquifers because the water is going to be depleted anyways in a number of, I think it was like 60 years. That's really scary, and that's without energy development.
Most of the water is shipped to rig sites in huge trucks. This, along with the equipment and the end product, are part of the reason why the roads in this section of the state went from being virtually deserted 4 years ago to being clogged with traffic today.
A friend of ours was actually killed on the road. She was driving home in her dad's big old truck and thought she was safe because she was in a big old truck, but one of the water tankers clipped her truck and crushed her dad's cab. To me, that kind of impact is, it's not worth it for the development that we have going on here, but for a lot of people, you know, they say it does create jobs and things in the area, so it kind of depends on who you talk to.
4 years ago, many towns in North Dakota were losing population. In an attempt to stem the tide, a regional marketing alliance made up of local business leaders like Steve Slocum ran a website called Prairie Opportunities. The goal was to attract 5,000 new people to the area.
In my wildest dreams, it would have me moving somewhere else because there's too many people around. As the concept grows, there may be other directions that economic developers and others in the area will put into play as we kind of lead the way into this new digital age and prairie pioneering in the 21st century.
People who could bring with them the high-tech know-how to create a new digital industry that could help populate some of the state's more isolated areas.
So tell me where Prairie Opportunities is at now.
That website has been shut down. That whole game plan has changed. We were looking for telecommuters, 5,000 spread out throughout northwest North Dakota. We're getting to that point just about right here in Williston. So these are not bad people that came in. These are great people. It's just that it's a lot different than what we envisioned as telecommuters moving into the area. A lot different impact and a lot lower impact to the overall economy, and they brought their job with them, so to speak. So that was the premise then. But that's out the window now, because one of the key driving forces for attracting those people, as you remember 4 years ago, you could buy a house for $60,000, a nice house. That is not the case anymore. That house is $200,000 nowadays.
How has the marketing shifted?
A senior vice president came into my office one day and he said, "Don't advertise for any more deposit." And I had him repeat it again because I was pretty sure a bank marketer had never heard that before. Banks such as ours and others participate in other loans around the country. If with the amount of revenue that is rolling into the banks in this area because of oil production and royalty and what have you, if we had places to invest that, but unfortunately the economy is not so hot everywhere else. It is right here, but for bankers it's a little bit of a quandary.
Do you think any of this, that scope of growth, do you think that's sustainable?
No. I guess, number one, I guess no, it isn't. Not without the state or an entity bigger than a community of Williston size. It's way bigger than Williston. And now is the time to do what Halliburton is doing as a state. They are ramping up right now. They're building all this infrastructure to get ready for what's coming. What's here right now is the tip of the iceberg. There will be a well every 2 square miles out there. Probably 3 or 4 once they get on each location. They'll drill laterals. So there's going to be all kinds of truck traffic, all kinds of craziness. It's a gold rush.
But there's a limit to just how much land is available in town.
After this construction season, there's no more infrastructure left in Williston. None.
For me and my classmates from 2006, that year truly did mark a commencement. That was the year that so much of our part of North Dakota began to change. We just didn't realize how much it was going to affect us and our home.
I remember my football locker and who I was next
My old classmate Dustin Strong fears what's happening here.
I think I worry more about too many people moving here.
Wow, and I know a lot of people from the class of '05 are back.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
This is some of the best land in the country for growing wheat. And then you throw an oil pad into these wheat fields and you're taking really good farmland out of production. It's harder to look at it from like an environmentalist standpoint, the oil development, when you're from the area, like, because I can't fault the people that are making money off it. I have friends and family that are making good livings out of it.
Do you think that there's a new sense of energy in town as opposed to like when we graduated?
I think it's bringing more business and there's more money floating around. I mean, obviously the school's going to get money off of these rigs and whatnot, and the state will maybe give the town more money to do stuff with.
I've always felt that real North Dakotans have a special connection to the land. Our grandparents and great-grandparents were the original pioneers. I grew up knowing that everyone looks out for one another. One has to when living in a remote place with a wicked climate. But the old-style family farm life is vanishing. Radical changes have transformed the economy of my home into one of the most vibrant states in the country. But those changes mean that choices have to be made, and soon. North Dakota faces the risk of being burdened with a resource curse. We have plenty of oil, coal, wind, sunshine, and fertile cropland. Our quality of life will be forever changed, and the question is, depending on how we use these resources, will it be for the better or worse? But I am still filled with love, respect, and pride for the land and people of North Dakota, ghost town or boomtown.
Thank you for watching. Join me again next time here on Witness.